Everyone, apa khabar semua? Assalamualaikum everyone. Are we still showing this video, or you letting me talk and everybody see me? So,
Yeah, I think we need to wait for all attendees coming.
okay, so how many attendees do we have right now? We have 64, 65, 66, 69, 73. Wow, not bad. 75, 77, 81, 83, 84, 87, 89, 91. Not bad. We have reached 98. Oh, lama lagi 2 orang je lagi. Okay, tak apalah. Yang to be us is probably us lah. Alright. Okay, I think we've got everyone already. 99 already. 100. 100. Hello everyone. Apa khabar semua? I am so happy to see you, all of you today. It's been, we have to thank you for waiting outside for a while. Ini macam, you're in the theater and just waiting for the movie to start. I'm sorry to keep you all waiting. We just needed to make sure that a lot of things were put together, fixing things, making sure the lighting for me is correct, making the lighting for everybody is correct. I'm glad that you're all here today, and we are here today to really, it's really a community sort of industry discussion. We want this as an opportunity for us to actually share with each other, especially in this situation that we're in right now. Myself and my team have been working behind the backgrounds, as some of you know, trying to gain as much information and stories from you of what's happening on the ground. And I think we feel your pain, because we are also there with you. And I think one of the things that we'll be bringing up is some of the help that you have given us in terms of this, sort of opening up and understanding sort of the issues that you have. And also at the same time, with that data, be able to look at some of the solutions that we might be talking about going into the future. We're lucky today to have a very distinguished panel from the industry who have gladly joined us in very short. I only asked them on Sunday morning if they're available, and they said, okay, well, let's do this. So I'm very happy to have Nizam, Razak from Monsta Studios. I have also Sern from Passion Republic. And I guess the rose among the thorns, Miss Juhaidah Joemin from Giggle Garage. But most importantly, I'm so happy to have YB Dato Saifuddin Abdullah joining us today and really being part of this conversation. Now, let me set up some ground rules, guys. And you guys know me. If you guys don't follow the ground rules, I'm going to come after you, right? But the ground rules is that this is a discussion. This is a collaborative discussion for us to look at how we're going to, look at the issues that we have within the industry, look at the solutions that might come out from this discussion, and then later on, how are we going to bring it forward so that, YB and the cabinet could consider things to help us as an industry. So, I'm sure if you have questions later on, we'll make sure that you can ask during the Q&A, and I hope that all these questions will lead to an answer that hopefully we can bring forth. Yeah. So that is just the ground house rules. This panel will be split into actually 3 parts. I'll be talking to the panelists about what is currently happening and what is the sort of the industry going through right now, right? And what they're doing as an organization. The second part of it will be like what is their sharing, the sharing of the issues that we have. I will bring up the survey that we did. Some of you have received it, some of you may have not, but I'm just going to show you some of those issues that we have and some of the proposed solutions. And I'll let the panelists sort of just discuss what their thoughts of the solutions are. And then the last part of it, where I will open this up for Q&A. And I hope you guys can participate. And please put in your questions in the Q&A box. And then I'll, as a moderator, be able to pick and choose. And then hopefully some of your questions will be answered today. So without further ado, I'd like to invite YB Dato Saifuddin. Sorry, I talked too much, but I think the man of the hour, to invite him to have an opening remark. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Assalamualaikum and salam sejahtera. Thank you, Hasnul. And hi, everyone. If you're wondering why I look a little formal, the only reason is because I can't stand the aircon. It's very cold. I think Malaysians are always feeling like they want to feel that they live somewhere in London. Now, I want to welcome everyone, and I must congratulate Hasnul for putting up this meeting tonight. I'm sure you know that I'm a new kid on the block, a novice when it comes to the creative industry. I hope to learn as quickly as possible. My tutorials are still ongoing, so please bear with me if I tend to be a little off tangent along the way. Let me start by stating just a couple of things. We are looking at digital economy in a big way. Just this morning, the cabinet decided that among the things that we need to do, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic and also after and beyond, is to enhance our capacity and to strengthen our collaboration in the digital economy, which of course includes creative industry. I'll come to that later. And to do so, we have agreed to form a task force, and the task force is to be led by our ministry together with Monsta. And I don't know whether Hasnul know about this. MDEC has been appointed the focal point for the task force. So, yep.
Yes.
I take it that this is really, an acknowledgement by the government for all the good things that MDEC has been doing. Now, the creative industry is huge. I don't have to go into the numbers, you know better than I do. And I must also thank you guys for being one of those first to proactively message on your own through your IP and so on. The moment we are forced to face the COVID-19 pandemic and the MCO. You make your PSAs and stickers and you use your tags and so on, which on behalf of the government, I must thank all of you. It has been very helpful and I hope you will continue helping. But I also understand that the creative industry, including animation and gaming, are hardly hit by the COVID-19. Now, we know there is this stimulus package, the first one and the second one. It is important, it is useful, it is beneficial, but it is announced and implemented with a very specific short-term objective, simply to assist people on their, what they call, cash flow. That's all. Now we are already thinking about recovery plan. And this we may even discuss in our discussion tonight. Now, recovery plan will take some time. Economists and analysts are saying the fastest you can recover is 6 months. So it could be 6 months, 9 months, or perhaps a 1 year trajectory of recovery. Then you go back to whatever dasar, whatever program that MDEC and others have been, working on for years. So we are in that trajectory. We should start now thinking and working on the recovery plan, and then we will be back on alignment. Now, along the way, we have to talk about talent, we have to talk about training, and people must be encouraged to continue working and producing. I know there are people who continue working, which is a good thing and which is very important. On hindsight, people are staying at home and they are watching you guys more. I mean, they are watching your products more. All the more reason we should be producing more. But I know, easier said than done. There are the challenges, and I believe that is also one of the things that we want to discuss. So I won't go longer, and I would like to really listen to all of you, the panelists, and also look and understand the industry more. I normally like to say, to use basketball. I mean, you guys are doing all kinds of things, but I'm a basketballer. So I normally use basketball as my, analogy. I'm not the tallest player on court, so I won't be able to do slam dunk. I'm not the sharpest who will do 3-pointers. I do quite well when it comes to free throws, but I'm a point guard. I distribute balls. That's what I'm good at. So the cheers is normally not for the point guard lah, because the cheers are normally for the LeBron James and for the
Kobe.
Well, Steph Curry is a point guard lah, tapi itu exceptional lah. But I believe in the teamwork. I believe in collaboration. I'm a big fan of consultation, and I've been doing this as soon as I come to this ministry, but I know I have to do more, and that's why I'm here, and I really want to listen and learn from you guys. So over to you, Hasnul.
Thank you so much, YB. Thank you so much for your kind words. It just means that there'll be more responsibilities to MDEC, and we're ready for it. And I think it is always the amanah that's always been given to us, inshallah. Okay, guys. Now, this is the good part, right? So I have with me Sern, Edie, and Nizam. So maybe I'll start with Nizam first, right? Nizam. Yeah. So how has this year been for you? 2020.
This 2020. So we cannot start with 2020. We have to start with 2019. The tahun animasi Malaysia in the cinema, right?
Oh my God! So tahun animasi Malaysia, yes.
Yeah, these 3 movies collected around 90 million. So we were feeling like upbeat, want to go into 2020, 2021. So I think a lot of us is planning to do movies, right? And then suddenly COVID-19 datang. Now we need to worry about, I think the cinema business is going to suffer for the next, not 6 months, I think. It's about maybe 18 months, because maybe COVID-19 will go away. But as long as there's no vaccine, there will be, there will be issues lah, because public will not feel confident to go to the large gathering like cinema or sports. So this is what I think that we as a company were pivoting towards that. We are focusing from our main production. We quickly pivot to a secondary animation. This is why we quickly buat Papa PP. We assemble a task force. Yes, Papa PP ada all the pesanan and PSA, but we quickly buat specifically for COVID-19. We have produced about 5 videos or episodes, and we have about 5 million. So it's not only us. We have Upin and Ipin, Agent Ali, Didi and friends. And I think this is a testimony about our animation industry. It's not that we want to sell product only or we work popular, but we're using the popularity, we're using the influence to give back to the society in this critical manner. I think this is a very good effort from the animation industry.
Great. And Sern, do you have anything? How are you handling this as a games company? So Sern, maybe you could tell a bit about your company and what you do, and then later and let us know what's happening right now for you.
Cool. Yep. So our team, Passion Republic, has been around for the past 10 years, mainly servicing and supporting AAA title like Spider-Man, Dark Souls, Uncharted. And yeah, I mean, this year has been quite surreal for us. I mean, the whole game industry in Malaysia, I believe. Yeah, because like what Nizam has been sharing last year, I think it has been a very exciting year for game development as well. Because you look at like multiple game that has been developed in Malaysia, like Re-Legend, and also Metronomic, No Straight Road, and also Pick and Switch from Streamline Studio. So I think there is a bright, future and hope that we are holding on. Last year, especially on Level Up, we've been seeing a lot of gamers attending the game show and show support to us. But this year, when we start the year, we plan to go to like maybe 10 game show around the world to promote the game. But when I come back from Boston, PAX East in early March, we were, anticipating, we've been seeing news with COVID-19 exploding in Italy. So that's where we started to like look back into our business continuity plan, because we have like burglary and fire and whatnot, like CEO missing in action kind of backup plan. But we will never prepare for a pandemic that required everyone to be locked down and working from home. So I think from there, we have about 1 to 2 weeks in advance to discuss and plan about like, what if, this really happened in Malaysia? So that we felt very fortunate that, we did that. So because the lockdown announcement allowed us only have like 1 day for, the prep and move on, right? So it's quite fortunate for us to have like maybe 1 to 1.5 weeks to further our communication with our potential partners. Yeah, and get our IT ready to really, move on from day one of the MCO. Yeah, so that has been, I think, nervous and, unexpected and exciting at the same time. Yeah.
Right. Thanks, sir. And Edie, how's Giggle Garage doing?
Well, I think for us at Giggle Garage, we started the year with a lot of anticipation. We are projecting a very busy year with project lineup. We have a couple of projects which is about to kickstart which we kickstart in the beginning of the year, some in November and December. So basically we are expecting 2020 going to be very busy with a lot of things. So, and of course this happened. So I think running a business, you always have to expect the unexpected. So I think probably 2 or 3 weeks before MCO, the team had sit down and put down basically a number of possibilities, because our friends, our partners in Italy has already started their lockdown by then. We were thinking like, wow, maybe this will come to this part of the world, although it's still early to say anything. So we actually put down some plans, if this is going to happen, how we're going to do this step by step, and probably even start with departments that doesn't require much in the office, and especially those who are badly affected. For example, those who have to take public transport, the staff who have to basically have difficulties coming to work, and also we were quite fortunate to be able to have like at least a solid 2 weeks to line down possibilities and plans. So the moment MCO was announced, so we were about a little bit ready in terms of getting the pipeline remotely done. So I think it's not perfect. We're still figuring out things to basically certain technical hurdles and difficulties, but I guess it's the same goes with everyone. We are learning and we are implementing at the same time.
Yeah. So that's a nice segue, right? So Nizam, you guys did Papa Pipi Zola, Papa and Pipi during this MCO, right? I'm not sure if the first few episodes were actually done before MCO or after MCO, but I'm sure some of the episodes were done during MCO. So maybe can you just sort of give us an idea, how was that done? I mean, you guys were at home, unless you're secretly in the office,
No.
but I don't think that's happening. So let us know, how are you doing it?
Basically, we in January, we were in Japan. So we heard about this coronavirus, COVID-19, right? So we were planning as well, what to do if this really hit us. Fortunately for us, we have multiple IPs. We have Boy, what we call the main IP. We have Mekamatu. We have just announced Mekamatu. This one is also a big project. And we do have Pesanan Papa Pipi. Also, it's like a smaller short version, about 1-2 minutes. So we were releasing an episode about dengue actually, about Papa Zola takut pergi jumpa doktor, and then dia nasihat pasal dengue, how to clean your house and whatnot lah. And then about a week before MCO, so we had this opportunity to gather together, buat a task force untuk quickly buat COVID-19 lah. So memang about 4 episodes we actually did it during the MCO, and it's really tough because the productivity starts with about 50%. And what we know, when we actually allow some of our staff to bring home their PC. We set up a remote work from home punya, in a way, some kind of server in that sense, local. And we actually managed to push from 50%. Now our productivity around 80%. So it can be done. It can be done. But of course, it's not only about the software. It's all about the communication as well. It's about the management as well. So I've been telling my leaders, communicate clearly, because when you have like video conference like this, you cannot go and like membela panjang, right? So you need to be in point form, and you need to have a system, SOP, how to check this progress. And fortunately for us, we're working internally, so that's better for us. But I'm not so sure about in the case of like ED, or if you do servicing, right? So I'm not so sure about that kind of how that kind of pipeline looks like.
Yeah. So now Nizam has asked both either ED or Sern. You guys are in services. How's your pipeline being created for this? Jump in anytime, guys.
Yeah. Well, basically for us, technical is very important to figure out what need to be done next. We actually tested few systems, few pipeline, and some works for certain department and some more stable for other departments. So we actually have to mix and match. Some have to be totally do things offline, taking file through FTP, and some can go through like VPN with remote desktop. So these are certain pipeline works for different departments. But also for us, most importantly, because we're working mainly with partners, which most of them are actually overseas. So we first order of the day after the MCO was announced, we actually set up a call with them to explain the situation, as well as our plan for the next few weeks, few months. And if things drag on, then we have to come up with plan B, plan C, plan D. So this is so much of to manage their expectation, and also to make sure that you have the project under control, and giving them the kind of comfort level, because this is important. You have to keep running the business. You have to make sure you hit certain point. And of course, communication in terms of how much impact this can basically bring to the project. There's going to be a delay of like 20%, 30%. So these are the kind of thing that we really have to manage from day one, basically. So there's no surprises, right? So yeah.
Soon, like you guys are working on the biggest gaming titles. How are they looking at us and Malaysia? Are we ready for it?
It's really challenging actually, because I think before this pandemic, I don't think any studio is able to work from home with such a sensitive and like highly confidential IP. Yeah, so the first hurdle that we need to go through is getting approval for working from home, meaning like we need to get our security tight, confidentiality, like protocol, including like if we bring back the computer screen couldn't be like facing any windows or like doors and whatnot. Those are physical security. They need to make sure it's like locked in a room, in a living room, or like a sleeping room or a study room. Yeah. So that became like a very challenging task, because up to now, I think we are only able to convince maybe 60+% of our partners to let us, bring back the computers and working from home. Yeah, but I mean, we are also fortunate that we have an internal IP in development. So like the downtime, our teammates will just move over to the IP side and continue the development for Gigabash. Yes.
Yeah. So, just to add sort of a little story, one of you guys out there actually contacted me and said, Hasno, you know, how long is this MCO going to go along? You know, I don't know how long my staff will stand it working at home. One thing is that are the laundries open for them? Can they go and wash their clothes? I mean, these are things that you don't see sometimes that could affect how efficient your organization could be, right? So, you know, my only answer to that, luckily the second MCO allows laundries to be open. So thank God for that, right? So thank God for them also. But, you know, these are things that we have to consider. We are lucky still. I mean, comparatively to other nations, we do have the proper infrastructure in a way, yeah? And I think it's still being worked on, but it is something that the government really pushes. And I'm sure YB is also doing this, pushing this also, the whole internet infrastructure in Malaysia. And just another story, I just said you hear my voice even longer. I'm very glad, you know, my boss, Puan Surina Shukri, right? The 2 days before we had to go on MCO, she got us all in at the boardroom. It was a senior leadership meeting. You know, this is a thing that we need together. And she was at that time. Sorry, I had to tell the story. So she was on quarantine. She came back from somewhere. She had to be on quarantine for a while. Then she asked us all, go back to your rooms. Go back to your rooms. Let's have a video conferencing board meeting, right? Let's get used to it. And next thing you know, the next 2 days we have to go lockdown already. So for all of you, I think it's Nizam, ED, and I'm sure everyone. We have to thank our IT guys, our CIOs, right? They are the technical guys. They are the ones who are the frontliners for us right now. And if you don't have good frontliners, the CIOs, we better really think about trying to make sure that we have those guys ready. So anything else you guys want to add before I go into the next session? All right, then I'll go into the next session. So I'm going to share a screen. Now, again, thank you very much, everyone, for helping us understand the issues more. My team, and you know, I have a really great team, and you know, they are really stupendous in doing things like this, which I'm not really good at doing. I can just talk very well sometimes, I feel, but they do this very, very well, and they help me understand what are the issues. So I'm going to share these slides with you. This is from essentially a survey that we did at the end of March, where we went out to the digital to you guys and actually asked you several questions to understand what the impact of COVID-19 to yourselves. I'm sure you also had the same questions just now when you registered. Actually, when we compared the data, it hasn't moved the needle very much. It's the same, right? So from here, we see that there are 3 main things that are being faced, key problems that are being faced by digital content creators. Number 1, on top of mind, is the managing of cash flow, right? There's a lot of operational issues, cash flow, workflow management, all these things are being sort of either slowed down because of the uncertainties. Second is really about boosting efficiencies. We're not used to be in this kind of situation. We are now in a situation where we've never been before, and we have to start looking at how do we work remotely. Are there tools that we have, like you mentioned just now, are our companies positioned with that digitally, right? And last but not least is opportunities. A lot of the demand is coming to a standstill, both local and global, right? But there are also pockets of opportunities. And I think something that, you know, I was talking to some of the panelists before this, they might be open to tell us later on that there are some opportunities out there, right? But these things are sort of the key problems that we face now, all right? So these are some of the comments from the companies that came back. You can see that large animation studio, producer of hit TV and movie IP, production effectiveness, hardware and software cost increase, lesser clients due to economic impact. Games development studio servicing global clients. I wonder who that is. A lot of our projects have confidentiality agreement. Oh, well, I hope it's not Sern, right? and these are some of them. But what we can see is that there are solutions that have been put forth, right? Could there be a stimulus package specific to digital content creators? And these are some of the ideas that from you and from my team in terms of what kind of solutions that we can put forth for people to consider, for the government to consider. Now, I'm going to get the panel to sort of like debate on these solutions and give their point of view, but I'm just going to share them really quickly with all of you, right? In terms of short-term survival, immediate cash flow problems. So could there be some loans, bridging, grants maybe, right, for issues with cash flows, and from specific bodies, like we have My Creative Ventures, we've been really great helping our companies, but grants that come from either MDEC or FINAS, could they be, well, not easier, but maybe somewhat in a shorter time they can get this, right? Could there be also some sort of government demand generation, right? Could there be like creating PSAs for the government and maybe working with local broadcasters to sort of buy local IP, buy Malaysia first before we buy other content, right? And then we looked at also midterm sustainabilities. And when we look at midterm, we really need to build on our market access opportunities. How do we actually market ourselves? And these are things that we're also discussing internally. I got an idea from one of you guys who said, you know, this is an opportunity for us. Why don't we go to the cartoon brews of the world, game industry.biz and tell, hey, Malaysia can do this already, work from home. Why don't you bring more work to Malaysia? So let's start marketing Malaysia even more. And last but not least is, can we figure out something that is long-term? And if there is something that we can do, if there is, we don't want it to happen, but if there's any large-scale layoffs, what can we do? And, that's why I have my background on me. I remember the days of Saladin. Maybe that can be, something like that can be revived, where we have a large-scale government project in the animation space. Now that we have more skills, more understanding, could there be something like that? So these are some things that have been thought out. Some other notable solutions: deferment for cost of development and production, marketing and distribution. Under threat right now is staff salaries, and also we're in the right ministry, a better internet infrastructure, which probably we can make sure that every home has to have sort of a base level internet infrastructure, and so that all of us can be as digital as possible, right? So I'm putting it now to the panel themselves. You've heard from me. I want to hear from you. What you think, in your opinion, and you can say that these solutions are wrong. What you think, and I want you guys to be as honest as possible. Thank you. So anybody jump in. Sern, Edie, Nizam, please.
Yeah,
I think,
sorry.
Edie, please go on.
Yeah. Well, I think for myself, we've been thinking about all possible solution, and we of course welcome very much any assistance from the government or even within the industry itself to basically come together and decide a solution, figure out a solution. But I think we are looking at two ways right now. At the moment, a lot of us are focusing on the short-term solution. It's a lot more to do with business continuity. How do we make sure that everyone have the job within this MCO period, and basically keeping everyone together and motivated to do work. But I think there is a bigger concern, a bigger problem awaits us once the MCO is done. But basically, we are still not done yet. We are now left with a bunch of problems. One is project delay, which will result to more budget, basically. So if you're working on a service, for example, and you always build up about 20 to 25% of margin for your project, and if you lose 2 to 3 months, basically that's it. That's your margin. It's all gone. So yeah, you are now working on basically very limited budget to finish up your project. And then after that, if it take even more than 2 or 3 months, then you start going negative with the whole thing. So, and this is the kind of thing that we need to anticipate moving forward. So I guess we all have to look at how do we help everyone basically to solve the next 6 months or even up to 12 months, like you mentioned, Hasnul, for some people. So these are the things that we all have to figure out. We haven't figured it out. I guess we all will need this kind of platform to discuss and as well to also share our problems with each other.
Actually, that's a good point. And actually, we started this, and I was talking to YB, is that this wanted to be a platform for us to discuss this, right? This could be the first of many platforms, instances that we can have sort of discussions and go deeply into sort of the discussions, right? So, I'm glad to hear that. We will not have solutions, but maybe Nizam or Sern, maybe you have a solution.
I have a solution belum lagi, but we have problem that we can share. Maybe we can together we can find solution after this, right? So one of the things that, like I said just now, cinema business is a no-go. I think the next 6 to 18 months probably. And the first thing, yes, MSO is one thing, COVID-19 is another, right? But after this, the economic repercussion, this is what we are hoping for. If you can follow the recovery of China, the V-shaped recovery, that's good. If U-shape, it takes longer, and this L-shape, that's the worst lah. So right now we are hoping that it can be is a V-shape or a short U-shape, hopefully. Because what we worry the most in terms of animation is that if you are in licensing and merchandising, if you are in entertainment, the first thing that people will slash is entertainment, you know, because people still need to makan, you need to go education. But I think the first thing, if you have a budget, limited budget get shrink, the entertainment will get slashed first. This is what my worry as a bigger scale, because as we know, animation is not only selling content, it's also have to do with licensing and merchandising. It also have to do with other industry as well. So this will have a chain reaction. It will be very interconnected. But having said that, we also have good indication right now. We can see Netflix, 100% more right now in a new report. I think semalam kata 60% increase of online activities in terms of streaming in South Asia. So there will be demand for content. But by my worry, the content, we can supply the content, but can they pay for the content? Because for example, if you go YouTube, a lot of our studios right now is focusing on YouTube. We're being hit by COPPA, the kids privacy issue from US and affected the whole world. And right now we need to worry about right now the AVOD, advertisement based video on demand, like in YouTube. So there's no advertiser is not advertising their product because everyone is staying at home. Maybe for certain like Dettol, mungkin face mask, they can advertise lah. But most of the product are really keeping their budget. Even there's a study shows that TV advertising will start to drop about 25% in the US for the second quarter, second to quarter, it's not mistaken. So there will be a demand for us to supply, but we need to close this gap. Right, so we have the problem right now in April right now. So maybe until September masih lagi tak okay. But if the government can help us to hold until maybe December, after December, I think a lot of other places like in US, in Europe, they are probably not able to produce as much as us because our cases is not as bad as them. Maybe they will take longer to recover. We can be quicker in recovery, and then we can go into production mode, and by early next year, we can have more products that we can actually promote and we can market.
Great. Sern, do you have any solutions at all from your side? From what you think?
I totally agree with what Nizam and Ed has been mentioning. And recently, I've been reaching out with a few students of mine because I was an educator before. So now we have many of my students starting their own team business as well. So I think like they are also struggling with like the study that we've been doing, like the cash flow in short term. So I've been encouraging them to reach out to like the local banks and also the foreign banks for soft loan application. But the challenge for them is they don't have much capacity and knowledge in that sector. So it would be meaningful, I think, for us to, either for MDEC or the government to host a workshop for education purposes or to make connection between banks and like smaller teams. That would be meaningful. Yeah. And I think in my personal opinion, we have been fortunate in terms of handling the short-term and mid-term crisis because our company has been enjoying the tax benefit, the tax incentive, for 10 years already. So that saving that we have been saving up from this tax incentive has been, really useful. It's like a lifesaver for us now. So, reinvesting those tax incentive back to, internal IP in training, this is the right moment for us to reinvest that as well. So I think it will be useful for the smaller teams or the newer business to get a quick and flexible tax incentive for them to be able to recover in the midterm. So it could be a job retention kind of tax incentive, not necessarily like, years of experience and, being in Cyberjaya and whatnot. Yeah, so I think too might be something small but helpful in short term.
Right. I mean, thinking about this, right? Just a question that came out to mind, and I'm just, and you can answer me if you don't. Does any of you actually have investors, like financial, proper investors into your company, or is it all like internally funded, your organizations? And you don't have to answer them. Yeah.
For us, it's 100% internally funded. So we don't have issues in terms of if you need like to talk about to the investors or to talk to our funders, right? But I might want to add certain things. Macam you said just now, loan, for example, maybe for the studios right now, maybe what we can do is to ease up the process of getting loans. As you know, if you go to the conventional bank, we cannot get the loans, especially the newcomers, because you cannot. There's no collateral for the banks. But we do have good program previously, like with BSN, I think, right? So we have BSN. We used to have SME Bank to help the creative industry, but no longer exists right now. But we do have right now My Creative Venture. Maybe the government can look back at those models, but repurpose that model for COVID-19, because it's not about under MCO. It's about after this, So I think maybe we can have maybe a system. Maybe MDEC can champion this. How to get into the green lane, fast track the application to help studios.
Yeah, I think for us, as we are similar to Monsta, we are self-funded. So basically, whatever we need to come up with, like a new solution, new pipeline to fit into remote working, we all have to basically take up the budget from within the company. So I think it will be really beneficial if there is a fund that is to support technical R&D about this new way of doing things, right? Because I think moving from this point, I don't think we are going back to the way we do things before. Things will have to move forward. I think the new norm will be digital. I mean, working remotely. But a lot of studio, I think all of us right now, we are all working separately on our own tests, on our own pipeline, and all of us are investing into this new area that nobody is familiar with yet. So I think if MDEC can have certain kind of support to basically fund R&D into creating a more solid or more robust remote working, then that will be great for everyone as well.
Okay, great. Sern, are you also?
Your question, we are like fully independent still. Yeah.
But why I asked that question is because I feel that there isn't many investors out there that want to play in this field right now. I mean, outside of Malaysia maybe, but within Malaysia, I feel that we are lacking in this, and I think this is where we really need to figure out what the gaps are in helping us. I heard about my creative ventures. I think that is an organization that's doing so much for the industry, and I think they can do more. And even just to tell you, even in our thoughts for going forward in RMK 12, we really want to make sure that my CV is resourced properly, so that they can actually help sort of specifically for this digital content industry, right? I just want to highlight, we have 12 questions that are coming from the industry. Minister, you can take a look in the Q&A section if you want to answer any of these. We have some anonymous, I don't really like anonymous attendees, but I have Johan Isha from Media Prima, CEO TV3, Faris Hanafia from Motion Fixo, Zino Gubbing from, Giggle Garage.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, we have Amir from Animas. And oh, there's so many questions from Zeno. All right, and Karen. Oh, Karen says she's an investor. Come talk to me. So okay, so we've come to the last 15 minutes of it. So I think we might as well just go into these questions. I will maybe start with Johan. Johan. You have two questions here. One for the minister and one for us. Maybe we'll start with the one for us first, right? Before we go to the one for the minister, right? Okay, so can we get him live to ask the questions, or you want me to just ask the question on the text? Okay, let me just ask the question by text, right? There will be a lot of SMEs writing new methods of e-commerce. While advertising on digital platforms work, advertising on TV during MCO can be effective for these SMEs too. Now, I agree with that. You know, we looked at education. Not everyone has mobile phones or PCs. They still watch TV. So note viewership has gone up more than 50% on Bulletin Utama dia menjual ni. Average views increased from 2.5 million to 3.5 million every night. Perhaps for these SMEs, could there be some sort of advertising grants? So what do you guys think?
That is good, because for me, when we do, like, for example, licensing and merchandising, we have to go into advertising, right? So I think this is very good. And Media Prima, and also like, for example, like Astro, has been a very crucial part in this creative industry. We need to bring them. We need to have more discussion with them, because these are those guys that believe in us, you know, like Upin and Ipin, Boy, all from Media Prima. You know, and then we have the latest one, Agent Ali, from Media Prima. We work with Astro to bring Boy. We need to engage with them more, that we can link from the government agencies, from studio, and also from the media point of view, so that we can work together to come up with a solution, you know. So I agree, because right now, yes, we have this TV online, the education online, education on TV. So actually, this is the new norm. Maybe there's a lot of opportunities that we can, not only, for example, if you do animation, not only animation for entertainment, you can do animation maybe from, I don't know, maybe from education, maybe other things that can be repurposed into using animation for other things.
Yeah. Now, I think this one, maybe there could be a very close discussion between, I think even our local broadcasters are going through tough times. So I think if we can work together and collaborate, I think there is some way of actually being able to benefit each other, both from the perspective of the industry, the broadcaster, and also the government. So I think this is something that we should look forward to. Just to highlight, in our new digital content grant, Afina's already had this. They have a marketing part of the grant, right? So all of you who have products looking for marketing grants, in the animation space, we've recently opened that in MDEC's own digital content grant. So just keep that in mind, right? Sir, there is this one question still from Johan, if you want to.
On the advertising one.
Yes. No, this one. Here's a new question. It's called, a big chunk of the creative economy consists of, oh yeah, advertising, correct. Yes, that's the one, yes, sir.
Well, I must confess, I don't have, I won't be able to give a very good answer on that one, but I will bring it up with my colleagues and see what we can do. But if I can continue on Johan's earlier question on e-commerce. Sure. There are, well, e-commerce, there is a continuum, you know. We also have to look at the training side, to the connectivity between people who are already online and people who are just about to start online. In fact, this afternoon, or earlier before I came for this meeting, Surina and I and a few others, we were having a discussion on e-commerce. Well, not necessarily pertaining to gaming and animation, but there is a whole profiling of e-commerce world that we need to look at. If I may continue on, I think Nizam was the one who spoke about education. Well, I have had discussion with the Minister of Education. Because of COVID-19, suddenly TV OK has to become education TV. And for now, we are broadcasting 2 hours a day, 1 hour in the morning and 1 hour in the afternoon. But home-based learning is going to be the new normal. There's no turning back. So Nizam, you are right. Nizam kan tadi, you were the one who mentioned. Yeah. So animation fits in well as opposed to teaching and learning method that will be useful for home-based learning. Animation that is interactive and so on. I think the Ministry of Education is really looking into home-based learning, both on TV and online. As I said, there's no going back. It has to be. We realize, I mean, we know it is important even before COVID-19, but because of COVID-19, you know that you really have to do it. And now everybody is saying, if only we know and we have prepared ourselves.
Yes.
So there may be some repurposing of things that needs to be involved, because producing for the cinema is something else. Producing for TV is another technology by itself. But I can assure you that home-based education is the one of the big new opportunities for your technology, for your industry.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to open another question, right? This is from Zino Gabing. All right. KKMM has managed to get good pricing for residential consumers starting last year. However, the current price of fiber broadband connection for companies are still expensive for SME and creative companies. Still relatively very low speed. For example, Time Broadband is at 100 megabits at 398 ringgit per month. This is still very slow and very expensive. TM Unify still has not rolled out the 800 megabits business pack. We need help from KKMM to look at this and make the speed as fast and affordable to SME companies.
Well, there are at least two things here. Number one, because of COVID-19, somehow we are faced with some problem, especially in the housing area. I'm sure you know that the telcos, when it comes to internet access, it is divided into three components: housing area, working area, and in between. In between means the roads, the highways. But because of the lockdown, everybody's at home. So very high intensity of usage in the home, and this is the reason for slow access to some people in certain areas. On the pricing, I think this is something that we have to look into very seriously, and I believe this is something that we will. Well, I'm hopeful that we can bring this up so that this will be part of the recovery plan. Probably not now. But for the recovery plan, we have to look at this. I mean, this is basically for people who are in the business already. You lose a lot because you cannot be producing now. You are not making money now, and then there is this 6 months to 1 year, or someone said probably 18 months before you can actually recover. I think the industry needs a lot of assistance. Just now, Johan mentioned about advertisement. That's one aspect of it, but I think the other aspect is, I'm sure the industry people will appreciate any kind of assistance that will come from well, the government can work on it, but in terms of the lowering of the charges of the price. Yeah.
Thank you, YB. Now, this question comes from Sinan Ismail. He is the owner of Digital Durian, the creators of DD and Friends, right? And this question can be to the panelists or YB. If you're comfortable, YB, you can go ahead and answer this. And there's no compel. You don't have to be compelled to do so. I would like to share a situation, and maybe some of you guys can also chime in later on. Right? Like many of us, we are deeply affected by COVID-19 and the MCO. However, we are not able to receive the SME stimulus package because we have more than 75 people. We're about 130 team members, which means to be eligible, the company has to show 50% of reduction in revenues. Yeah. So number two, this is not happening because the nature of our business. Our revenues coming in for January to April actually come from previous payments from September to December 2019. And revenues from January to March will only come in May to July. So we're affected as some clients and partners wanted to sign in March, but everything stalled because of COVID and MCO. Estimated they will lose a couple of millions. How can companies like us get help from the SME stimulus package?
Okay. Again, I must admit I don't have the answer. But what we can do, as I was having the meeting even on e-commerce training this afternoon, is I think there are certain areas that we as government may have missed when we do the calculation and when we roll out the stimulus package. There are some dotted lines, pardon me for being very blur here, that needs to be connected. And I think Hasnul, if you can help by,
yes, sir.
If we can, what do you call, identify this, I call
problems,
it, the problems, and then we can bring it up to the either to the EAC or to the Minister of Finance, because I'm sure just like Dato Saifuddin is looking at giving some kind of allowance to certain manufacturing plants to start operating again. I'm sure there are, because this will come into the details. The details may not be highlighted while the package were prepared, but I'm sure they are more than willing to listen.
Yeah. And again, guys, rightly put, all these things that you have mentioned to us, we're recording it. We will actually summarize this, and then we will actually provide a paper to KKMM for them to bring it forward. You guys, any comments from you guys? Are you guys facing the same thing, Nizam, Edie, Sern?
For us, we be reaching out to the government. I'm not so sure about the status. As so far, I think for our side should be okay. I'm not sure 100%, but I think should be okay. It's just that maybe like what we said just now, maybe there's some dotted lines that need to be connected. I'm sure that the government is really trying to help the best lah. Maybe I can have a suggestion juga, macam for example, if you we know Kementerian Pendidikan, for example, all this while the government animation and games is under one like KKMM, right? So kalau kita tahu that KPM, for example, Kementerian Pendidikan is going into education, maybe we can give some job, I don't know, small jobs ke, big jobs ke, to our graphic artists, not only animation, maybe give some animation, because there are a lot of content need to be done. Kalau kita nak buat learning from home, right? So maybe these are the things that we can start to help, because we see there are companies, government agencies, we have media players, and I think we can collaborate and we can find repurposing of kita punya technology lah in terms of animation, and how do we repurpose into other ministry, other jobs that we can actually use this tool and we can get business out of that.
I think my quick response would be, Nizam, is to quickly conduct a meeting between you guys and we can think of the details later, but between us and the bahagian teknologi pendidikan or something, those people, the expert in the Kementerian Pendidikan who develop content, I think we need to very quickly impress upon them that, look, here is a battalion of talents and people who are very professional and they are willing to help. Nothing is free, of course. When I say willing to help, that's my politically correct way of saying it.
But it's true, sir, right? At the end of the day, they're going to pay someone anyway.
Okay, it's called bahagian sumber. Thank you, CL Lee. It's bahagian, alamak, dah hilang lah. Bahagian sumber something. Anyway, I got it. Yeah.
But you're right, right? end of the day, somebody has to pay for it anyways, and they're going to pay someone anyway. So you know, we just bring the right people so that they can produce the best things.
Yeah.
And coming to that, right? You know, there's a question from Ahmad Izam Omar, famous Ahmad Izam Omar. He from Pinewood Studios, right? He says he thinks that we need to figure out how more corporations and broadcasters can be incentivized to invest more into animation IPs. So, you know, this is one of the IPs they invested in, Kita Jaga Kita. But what do you guys think as independent content creators? How, you know, are the broadcasters really helping? And you know, and what kind of incentives should they get? Like, you should guys get all the grants anyways, right?
Yeah, I think that is definitely true, and we are definitely very supportive of that, because this whole industry is not just the creators or the producers. It's have to work as ecosystem. So in order to help the producer, you also help to basically make sure that the broadcasters have enough resources within them to help the producer. So I think these are the kind of collaboration that have to happen, especially during this time. So I think we have one example that we actually working with Media Prima on the project, which have help from MDEC as well as investment from broadcasters. So I think in a way we have to basically do more of this, so there's more content can be produced. And
is there any, like, on the gaming side, do you have any like broadcasters or publishers that you think that we can work with to make yourselves grow?
I mean, I believe the game developers in Malaysia, indie, mid-size, or, you know, huge size, would be glad to support, you know, all the successful movie IPs, you know, Agent Ali, Boy Boy Boy, right? So I think, I mean, like, myself has been homeschooling my kids, my elder son, with the Boy 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 card game.
Wow.
Thank you so much for buying that.
So he's learning all the bahasa and mathematics, because there is power to add up and deducted and all that, right? Yeah. So in the card game, so it's very useful in a way. So definitely, you know, my son will be very happy, you know, if we are making a Boy 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 game. That would be.
We can discuss after this.
Yeah, but I think, you know, on this point, right? You know, we've had we've been working together with Media Prima, and I think Edie is one of the sort of recipients on this. We actually co-invested together with Media Prima, where they came up with some and we came up with the sum to invest into our local content. I think if we can expand that even further, it could help both. It's an ecosystem play. It can't be just one thing. I mean, if the ecosystem is not strong and there are gaps in the ecosystem, everybody will lose. So I think that, you know, this is something that we can probably think about going into the future, right? Okay, so I think we have time for one more question. Let me see.
Asno.
Yes, sir.
Can I throw a quick question?
Of course, please.
You mentioned about ecosystem, which is very important. I mean, you and the panel may be able to assist me here. I have this, well, not suspicion, I mean, hunch. Yeah, funny feeling that these dotted lines is way too many, and we really, I mean, no world is perfect. There will always be dotted line, but I think we have too many of this dotted line. Is bureaucracy, is it procedures, is it regulation that is a challenge to people working? I mean, minus the COVID-19 lockdown lah, yeah. Looking at recovery and beyond.
Yeah.
Is bureaucracy, is people who decides your future working in silos, and well, you can answer to me very candidly. I have no problem.
So, guys, it's open to you guys. What do you think?
Just an observation, basically on my side, on our side, that compared to other countries, because we have experience working with, for example, producers in Australia, and they have a very solid system in terms of basically the whole ecosystem within their investors, and they have their public broadcaster, they have their private broadcaster, all actually working together. And a lot of this is held together by Screen Australia. So these are the kind of system that, because they took years to basically perfect this and get input from producers and broadcasters alike. So so it's really helping the industry or the producers to create something. Whereas for us, we have a system that working separately. We have broadcasters, private broadcaster having their own policy. We have our public broadcaster having a different guidelines, and that, as well as few other agencies. I think these all have to be consolidated into one supporting thing that basically will work together with the industry. So I think we have to find that kind of balance or that kind of comfort level for everyone to work together. Mm-hmm. So as an example, we actually work on a project where we have about six partners where we have producers on board. We have the ABC Australia, which is their public TV. We have their private TV on board, and all different basically mechanism of industry support. And it all can work under the same project or under the same umbrella. So we have not seen this kind of collaboration yet, I think, locally. So that will be my wish list lah, basically, if we can do that.
Yeah.
I want to add something. Back in, I think, 2005 to 2010, the creative industry is being, in terms of funding, back then we have SKMM to chip in, and they got the money from the license from the broadcaster. Now they're no longer part of kita punya animation or creative industry punya panel. I think what we need to do moving forward, because if we only rely on, for example, only MDEC, right? Only MDEC. And right now, MDEC is working very close with FINA. That's really good because we talk about animation and film. We can work together. And if MDEC can, for example, we can bring SKM into this picture balik. Maknanya app, study, education, for example, and we can tap into their resources as well. Because I talked to them for several times because they said they are more than willing to be part of the industry. But the problem in the beginning was there's no standardization in terms of funding. They have their own funding, MDEC ada their own funding, Finance ada their own funding. And then after a while, MDEC and Finance come together, but only one funding, right? Now, I think if you can bring them in, because I think they have a lot of resources in terms of monetary and also access into the telcos. What we are missing, I think, in this industry, we don't have the telcos to come in. You know, we have Media Prima, we have Astro, we have RTM, but we need to bring the more players to come in. I think the telcos can help us a lot in terms of providing content, in terms of getting revenues, you know. And then also we're talking about ecosystem. I understand some for example, we want to sell content, right? We want to sell content to TV. It's not Media Prima, for example, is a very good supporter. The Upin Independent Boy started at Media Prima, you know, and it's always been there. And now Agent Ali. So, but we need to protect them in terms of, we know the revenue is coming from advertising. This is a very sensitive issue. 2 days ago, Australia actually goes after for Facebook and Google, because all the advertising revenue is going out to these companies, right? So there must be a certain regulation, certain protection for advertising to hold into big media companies, so that these big media companies have local producers at their heart. For me, that's really important. But for the past few years, we've been seeing lesser in terms of buying. Even RTM is lesser in terms of animation. I'm not so sure, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't see like at 2005, 2010, we had a lot of animation coming out. But now, lesser in terms of purchasing animation or any creative content for that matter. So I think the government need to protect the media companies, and also media companies in a way will help us as well, indirectly or directly.
There's another what you call angle to protection, Nizam. There are a couple of universities who are teaching animation, and then the graduates complain they tak dapat kerja, they couldn't get work. We also need to quote unquote protect the industry in terms of ensuring that people who are trained in animation gets work. I mean, it's not about guaranteeing work, but you have to avoid a situation whereby any Tom, Dick, and Harry can just jump into the industry, and then people who are really qualified and people who have been investing in their own training through their parents or scholarship and whatnot, got sidelined. So that is also one thing that I want that we have to look at. I mean, I have my personal experience not in this industry, but in the area of translation. There are people who go and study in universities to become professional translators. But it is only when at that time Ministry of Education make a policy that during those days when you have this buku text and sometimes you involve translation work, and then the DASA, the new policy was made that any publication house who wants to participate in the production or the printing of a textbook those days, if you involve translation, then your translators must be qualified translators. Then only you, I mean, that kind of protection is also sometimes needed. Otherwise, our youngsters who go and study universities, they may think that the industry is not really providing them the kind of employment that they would want to have.
Yep.
I agree, YB.
Okay, I think we'll come to the end of our session, and there's so much that we can talk about. And maybe what we can do is have more of these sessions going forward. But I'm sorry, there are like 23 questions, and I can't ask all those questions. But I guess we can do this for the next time. So. YB, if any, and okay, so now, I'm just gonna ask each of the panelists, right? This is like a trick question because I didn't get you guys prepared, right, for this, right? If you had no encumbrance at all, this is the best thing that could ever happen, right? What is it that is the biggest thing that you would want from the ecosystem or from the government that can really help? Really propel your industry? Who wants to answer first? I want I want to own Netflix or something like that. What is it that you think will really game changer, for lack of a better word? Who wants to jump in?
Well, probably I'll just. I mean, it's. You mean there's no restriction? We can.
No restriction. Yes. Anything. Yes.
Of course, everyone will say that we did like all the investment to provide that to help us make
what investment? How big of an investment? What are you talking about? Right? What is it?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Well,
Hasnol is going to write down the check.
Yes. I think for us that, and this has been a wish list from a long time for us, because I noticed that we don't really have a TV station or a channel that's really addressing content for kids. We have it within slots, within all the other content, and it's almost like the children content, especially the preschool content, we're almost competing with all the other show that is more sexy or more action-based. So I think that is one thing I feel missing from whatever we have in the country right now, comparing with all few other countries that we know of. They have a very specific channels for animation content, especially for children's, and they basically make sure that all the content are done locally. to make sure that all the educational content as well as the learning basically fit well with the local audience. And of course, they have budget to pay for this kind of content. They focus on this. They have educational advisors, psychologists on board and all this. So I think it's not only beneficial for the producers, because I think a lot of us are producing content for children. It's also beneficial for the new generation. And we are not even paying attention to that at the moment. So I think that will be, for me, it's a great add up to the industry.
I like that idea.
I'm taking note.
That's all.
Kids channel.
I know. I love this idea because that's the reason why I'm doing this. You know, I see. Sorry for hitting on it. I just want to be very truthful to everyone. Like, I see what was on RTM, and I'm like, this is what our children are watching, and you know, I was lucky enough, alhamdulillah, that I had a chance to stay in the States and see their public broadcasting and their children work, right? And I grew so well because of that, right? So I think this is something that we need to look at, and we can hopefully we can champion. I don't know now, but you know, something that we get. Nizam, you have Nizam or Sern, please.
For me, I wish that, you know, when we see our ecosystem in terms of domestic, on local, we have pay TV, like Astro, we have free TV, Media Prima, we have the government channel, RTM. But what we are missing, actually, the digital TV. This is what we've been missing. Either, you know, coming from Media Prima, from Tonton, or we can, like, TM, for example. Again, I stress this issue again and again. We need to bring more players to come in. For example, if you can bring TM, they have Unified TV, and I don't think they're doing that great. I think Unified, but if you can, like, the government, because it's JLC, right, can repurpose and make our own sort of our own OTT, for example. You know, that not only target Malaysia, target this region, and we can actually have new platform. And they are not making money from advertising only. It's not only from, because they have their own subscribers in terms of, you know, like people that actually have to either mobile, either Unified, all these services. So they have money. So I think what we're missing, one of the component is like digital, not just digital TV, it's like OTT, you know. If you can have that, that could actually complete the puzzle. We do have iFlix, but I think we need more like from the government link, like TM, because TM, I think, is in a great position if they can do that. And one of my wish list, actually, this is not to...
Jangan banyak sangat,
sikit je. Okay. So one of the things that I really happy right now, and this is not to puji YB, this is what happened in 2009. So I was from Leskopak, right? So we were tayangan Gang Pengembaraan Bermula. This is the first 3D animated feature film. You know, at that point of time, YB was, I think, Timbalan Menteri. I think dekat Kementerian Pendidikan. I'm not so sure. Maybe, sorry YB kalau salah. And YB... Pengajian Tinggi. So YB actually booked the whole cinema to watch Gang Pengembaraan Bermula. And YB tak ada anything to do with creative industry at the point of time. And I think we have the right leader right now that really have the creative industry at the punya heart, YB punya heart. So I think that YB can really help us to come together, not only from Kementerian KKM saja, but we must bring the KPM, for example. We can bring the big players like TM, you know, maybe like corporate like Maxis, maybe Petronas, to come in and go into this creative industry. As we can see, a creative animation games is really important, because at this point of time, at this cabaran COVID ini, we can see that our players are willing to do pro bono. A lot of PSC ni pro bono. You know, we actually have to stop our main production for a few weeks and just to focus on this. So I think there's a lot of goodwill over here, and we can work together closer in ecosystem. I think that will be better for us and everyone.
Oi, pandai ya Nizam.
Tak bodek. Ini memang betul. Kes 2009.
Okay. So we've given enough time for Sern to really figure out what his plan is. So Sern, let's complete this.
Yeah, so I think my thought is simple and small, but hopefully meaningful. Because as a developers, be it animation or like a game, I believe our fulfillment is when we met, you know, our gamers, our viewer, where we talk about our games, you know, how passionate we are, how, you know, what kind of inspiration that they have been drawing from the animation or games. So, you know, Level Up has been great, you know, last year. We are so hopeful that Level Up 2020 will be one of the biggest game, expo in Southeast Asia.
Expo. Yeah.
But then I believe, the challenge ahead is extremely hard to host a physical event. But I think this gives us the best opportunity, because if we do, a digital level up event, physical space no longer limits, our participant. So we could host millions of gamers from Malaysia, from Southeast Asia, around the world. They do not need to buy any air ticket to come to Malaysia, but they can experience made in Malaysia IP games, So, but it's easy to say, but I believe to host millions of gamers, I think it requires the full support from the ecosystem, like what Nizam has been mentioning. So I think, it's a small idea, but requires a big effort from the entire ecosystem.
I think it's a great idea, and I think not just games but also animation. I think what we have to start figuring out how we can make digital playgrounds. And Fortnite is announcing that they're having a concert on Fortnite with Travis Scott, right? So now the universe is actually in these game environments and stuff. So I think more and more this will happen. I'm glad that you brought it up, and it's something that we're thinking of right now. And I hope that you can join us in making it a success. So I guess that's it, guys. I love all your ideas, guys, and I hope that we can all work together on doing that. And it's not just you guys that I'm talking to, but also you guys who are listening. You have the participants still at the same number. That means you guys are intently listening. So this is not going to be the first. This is just the beginning. And it's not going to be the last. It's the beginning. And before I shut down, sir, your final words.
Okay, very, very quickly. I think, I don't know if you have mentioned this, but I think people should also look at the MDEC Digital Content Grant and Digital Creators Content Challenge that I believe Hasnol and gang are trying to make some adjustment for the short-term needs. But I like this idea just now mooted by the panelists on training, and someone mentioned in the Q&A about, well, there are many areas of training, but of course, one of it will be on script writing. We have to go we probably need a good script bank, if you like, so that, we are not short of,
ideas.
Ideas. And then I think the R&D fund is very important. There's no two way about it. But if Sern, you mentioned something about hosting people, suddenly I remember that, well, bring the minister in charge of Hari Merdeka. I suspect we may not be able to celebrate Hari Merdeka the normal way.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you need 3 months to prepare. And I'm not so sure when the school will reopen, and a big chunk of the performers are school children.
Yeah.
Is there a possibility of having a digital Merdeka Day celebration? I mean, animation, celebrate Merdeka Day through animation. I don't know.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, kids are all on Roblox right now. They're all on Minecraft right now.
Yeah.
We can put all our characters in there, and all of us in there, and maybe even yourself and the Prime Minister in there will have a virtual Merdeka.
Okay. No, I mean, jokes aside, it's worth thinking. I mean, my thinking is this: we still have to celebrate Merdeka. 32 million Malaysian, only a few thousand actually perform in Putrajaya or Dataran Merdeka and the other capital, right? And only a few thousand actually go and watch it there. Majority are glued to the TV. Now imagine there's no Hari Merdeka celebration. How do you make Malaysians still glued to TV and watch Merdeka celebration? I don't know. You guys are the professionals, okay?
Yeah.
My last 2 points is on funding. I think we really need to consolidate and repurpose some of the funding. I must quickly inform people. No, we are not interested in when I say consolidate, bukan semua, not everything comes under one roof. No. By all means, Finas, MDEC, Creative Venture. I mean, everybody keep your money, but we want to consolidate in the sense that we need to repurpose it, in a certain way, so that we optimize whatever funding that is already there. And then my last one is on policy, because I saw someone asking about policy. My answer is, I'm not interested in writing and doing a retreat on policy. I've done this many times in my life as a politician. More often than not, it's not going anywhere. What I believe in is upscaling whatever that is already there. Because no point looking for new talents. I mean, bukan new ideas. The ideas are already there. All you need to do is to upscale it and move on from there, and encourage a fair competition, because the best brain will work better with fair competition. And then government shouldn't be making too much noise about how to do things. Our work is really to facilitate. It's a trajectory. It's a trajectory. The talent, you must allow the talent to unleash their full potential.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. Good night. Yeah, keep safe.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Stay at home.
Thank you, Asnol.
Thank you, Nizam. Thank you, Edie. Thank you, Sern. Thank you, everyone who's listening. Kita jaga kita, right? Kita jaga kita. So kita jaga kita, right? So this is it. So we jangan YB, you jangan don't feel bad joining us. We hope you'll join us more often in the future, and be part of this conversation. Thank you so much for your time, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye bye. Oh. Okay, so we're done. But the we want to take one picture. What this picture, so that we can this VC picture. So thank you, everyone. Bye. But for us, let's take this picture together. So this computer. So if everybody wants to turn on their videos, I'd love to see you guys on your videos, and then I'm just going to take a screenshot of this. All right. Okay, come on the videos. YB sekejap je, semua semangat nak ambil gambar dengan YB ni sebenarnya. And everybody else. Okay, so I'm going to take the screenshot. Hold on. Okay. Alamak, macam mana ni? Oh, sorry ya. Okay. Done.
All right.
Thank you, YB.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you so much, YB.
Thank you, YB.
Thank you, YB. Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you, YB. Thank you.
Right. Thank you so much.